Once upon a time, these four words begin nearly every fairy tale that I've ever read. Fairy tales are stories set in faraway lands or mythical realms that touch upon timeless questions. So I'd like to start my story tonight with once upon a time, I was born into this human form. I think I had a little bit of cosmic jet lag arriving. It took me some years to get used to this body and this world, but the first few years were pretty much blank in my memory vault. But thankfully, by the time my little sister was old enough to talk and play, I became what I call sentient, self-aware, and my memories began to form. And one of my most cherished memories is of fairy tales, ones that I saw illustrated beautifully like this by a Japanese manga artist. And it took me actually all these years to actually find the right search words to discover who that artist was, named Makoto Takahashi. And then my favorite tale of all was about the Little Mermaid. This is a very tragic tale about a mermaid who becomes human in order to be with the beloved one she'd rescued at sea. But she dies because she goes unrecognized for her true self, and her good deeds are also missed. And I really resonated with that story because of my own childhood struggles. When I was about 6 years old, I started to invent my own fairy tales and entertaining myself and my sister, like this one, these drawings from that time about this sorceress who lived in a gold mansion in the clouds. And I loved how these stories were safe in the vaults of my imagination, safe from destruction and untouchable. In the summers, I would borrow books from the library and devour the myths and legends because I loved the magic and the monsters. You see, this was the early stages of my appreciation for the sacred and profane, which was going to be a spiritual principle that's very important to my life's work. You see, the secret of the fairy tale is that very dark and terrible things can happen to children and adults, but we can endure evil deeds and demons as long as beauty and magic exist. And so, in light of my own childhood, being quite immersed in violence and a lot of suffering, I found that the fairy tale gave me safe sanctuary. It gave me a place to incubate my belief in magic and dreams and beauty. And so like the ugly duckling, I could move through my despair even though I felt unwanted and misunderstood, because I had this understanding that one day I might blossom into the person that I knew I was inside. And so I kept that dream alive, and I just really trusted in the true, good, and beautiful in my soul, even though I felt very alone in that belief. In late night television, I remember watching this film about the Elephant Man, and I really felt a deep kinship with Joseph Merrick. He was a severely deformed man living in Victorian England, and he was tormented by society at the time, but finally found refuge by a kind doctor who also recognized that he was an intelligent and gentle soul. When I saw this film, The Last Unicorn, I finally found a legend that enthralled me so much that it could keep me enchanted even in my darkest hours. And so the unicorn became an important symbol to me of something that is not real, yet becomes real if you believe enough. So I spent my youth drawing it repeatedly, trying to capture that essence of how much it meant to me. It represented beauty, magic, and what I call the noble path. And so at the age of 16, I finally made my last unicorn drawing. And here it is right here. It represented so much to me, but at that point I began to move my creativity into other channels. I felt that I understood what it really meant. This symbol was about this path that I was going to embark on, about really living enchantment in my daily life, and to make what is not real, real. And so I made this design of this tattoo of my mythical totem and have it permanently on my body as a reminder of my commitment to making beautiful dreams and visions come true. So in my adult life now, I work with other adults on understanding their epic fables. Because when you're really encouraged and you're supported in exploring your dreams, that's when you really discover what your true passions are. And your sense of play, your creativity comes out, and you understand what your greater purpose in life is. And so through all my performances, I always try to tell a fairy tale. I always try to embody a story from my heart to your heart. I try to invite you in so that together we can become one for a moment and transcend our darknesses and realize our true natures. And of course, we live in a world where maybe there are people who are not interested in dragons, mermaids, and unicorns and having them as teachers. But I feel that as long as you keep your imagination open, they will exist. As long as you are willing to create and see beauty in the world, then their medicine will touch your heart. And if you also are interested in creating a magical adulthood, then one of my greatest pieces of advice would be to never, ever abandon your dreams. Keep them sacred in your heart like a child keeps a promise sacred. And at that point in life when you realize that enchantment is important, it can take you on some grand adventures, like my own fantasy of mermaids. It has taught me how to scuba dive, how to free dive to 86 feet of depth and resurface on one breath, to perform in cabarets as a mermaid, and to swim in the ocean in my own handmade mermaid tail. So I invite you to see your own life as a fairy tale and discover your myth. I want you to love your legend, because when you hold on to that healing enchantment comes into your life, into your family's life, your friends, your society, and into our world. Thank you.